Chapter 820. Insufficient Wealth to Refine Immortal Goo. Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Myriad Star Fireflies was a move that expended at least 16 Dao marks when used. There was no upper limit. The greater the range of Myriad Star Fireflies, or the higher its power, the more Dao marks would be consumed when using it. But that was precisely why this move was extremely strong. The Dao marks enter space, forming a peculiar battlefield. It was hard to destroy. When Goo Immortals entered the range, their thoughts would turn into star thoughts, forming the attack for Myriad Star Fireflies. As time passes, Myriad Star Fireflies would grow stronger. This was converting the enemy's strength into one's own strength and attacking them with it. To enemy Goo Immortals, this was an obscene feeling. It was like they were dropping a rock onto their own feet, or taking a dagger and stabbing themselves. After understanding the secret of Myriad Star Fireflies' usage, Fang Yuan understood something else. No wonder that in the past, Dongfang Changfan usually used plots and schemes to deal with matters. Only until he had no choice would he take action by using Myriad Star Fireflies. Because even though Dongfang Changfan was the #1 wisdom path Goo Immortal of the current generation in Northern Plains, he could not use Myriad Star Fireflies. Frequently, its cost was too high. Once Dao marks were expended, they could not be recovered. Dao marks were hard to obtain. Most Goo Immortals could only get a large number of Dao marks after going through a tribulation. This Myriad Star Fireflies is on par with my current killer move, Myriad Self. Of course, my killer move, Myriad Self, still has a lot of room for improvements. Myriad Star Fireflies cannot compete with it in this regard. I do not have any Wisdom Path Dao marks. Unless I enter into Wisdom Path, I might never be able to use this killer move in my lifetime. Of course, there was also another important point to consider. That was, this killer move, Myriad Star Fireflies, needed a core of 3 Wisdom Path Immortal Go. Fang Yuan did not have a single one. When Dongfang Changfan lost, he self-detonated all of his Immortal Goo. He did not leave any to Fang Yuan. Among these 3 Wisdom Path Immortal Goo, the one Fang Yuan wanted the most was Star Thought Immortal Goo. There were more than 10 Immortal Goo recipes in this Wisdom Path inheritance. Among them was the recipe for Star Thought Immortal Goo. There was even the refinement experiences of all the past inheritors, and all of their findings after failures. Once he had Star Thought Immortal Goo, Fang Yuan would not need to waste so much effort in slowly accumulating the mortal Star Thought Goo. The inheritance said, 1 bead of green grape immortal essence could produce 100,000 star thoughts from the use of Star Thought Immortal Goo. Of course, if Fang Yuan used Star Thought Immortal Goo, the number he would obtain would be less than 100,000. That was because each of the Wisdom Path Goo Immortal inheritors had Wisdom Path Dao marks in them that amplified the effect of Star Thought Immortal Goo. It was the same as how Fang Yuan could increase Giant Hand's power by 20% with his Strength Path Dao marks. 20% was very low. Ordinary Goo Immortal experts had Dao marks that could increase the power of their Immortal Goo, and their Immortal Killer moves would grow in power accordingly. Twice, thrice, 4 or 5 times, 10 times, or even 100 times. One of the main reasons why the difference between rank 7 and 8 was so great was due to this. The higher the cultivation level, the more terrifying the tribulations. Once they passed them, they would obtain a greater number of Dao marks. Fortune and disaster appeared in turn. From another perspective, the stronger the heavenly tribulation or earthly calamity, the more benefits one would obtain. It was a good thing. Once Fang Yuan had Star Thought Immortal Goo, in terms of deductions, he would have fewer obstacles. He would not need to plan their consumption so painstakingly, maintaining such minimal and cautious consumption of Star Thought Goo. In addition, with his current wealth, he could sustain the expenditure of it. But the problem was, though Fang Yuan could sustain the cost of using the Immortal Goo, he could not afford to refine the Immortal Goo itself. Even though he made some profits, he was still a long way from refining Immortal Goo. Immortal Goo were unique. They were fragments of the Great Tao. The Immortal Essence Stones and Immortal Materials expended when refining an Immortal Goo were extremely great. Most importantly, when refining Immortal Goo, one could not prepare just one set of materials. They had to prepare many portions because the success rate of refining immortal goo was too low. Dongfang Changfang was a formidable person in his time, the #1 wisdom path goo immortal in Northern Plains. He was in control of a super force for many years. He had also secretly worked with Immortal Crane Sect, obtaining a fair sum of funds. But even so, at his peak, he only had 8 immortal goo in his possession. Among these 8, there was Menzies Blood, Immortal Goo, and Split Shadow, Immortal Goo. These Immortal Goo were not of Wisdom Path. There were more than 10 Immortal Goo recipes in his Wisdom Path inheritance. Among them, he only refined less than half. For example, looking at old ancestor Shua Hu and Lady Wan Shou, the former had the highest battle strength among the rank 8s in Northern Plains, while the latter was one of the 4 most famous refinement path Goo immortals in Northern Plains. They had deep foundations and were very affluent. But to refine the rank 8 fortune rivaling Heaven Immortal Goo, even though they had Ma Hong Yun and could save a lot of resources, the rest of the resources needed still used up almost all of their savings. It could be said that they were going all in on this. With Fang Yuan's current situation, wanting to refine Immortal Goo was simply wishful thinking. Other than Star thought Immortal Goo, there was an immortal killer move that Fang Yuan thought highly of. It was called Starfog concealment. This move was used to enshroud a Goo immortal in a layer of foggy starlight for extended periods of time. It could conceal their appearance and prevent others from seeing it. This was just the surface-level effect. Its true effect was to conceal the Goo immortal from appearing as among the secrets of heaven. When other Goo immortals tried to deduce matters about this Goo immortal, the information would be concealed in fog. They would obtain unclear answers. This was almost like the effect of Dark Limit Immortal Goo. Dark Limit, Immortal Goo's effect was to make the Goo immortal be overlooked and for others to fail in the deduction. Starfog concealment obscured the information and make deductions harder, getting unclear answers. This Wisdom Path Immortal Killer move was one of the more unorthodox ones in the Wisdom Path inheritance. Many of the inheritors did not use it in their lifetimes. Thus, the recorded experiences on this move were very few in number. Because Wisdom Path Goo immortals were rare to begin with, Wisdom Path Goo immortals rarely plotted against or attempted to make each other's schemes fail. Under most situations, even if they used it, they could not know what their enemies sensed when deducing information on them. But to Fang Yuan, this was very useful to him. No, wasn't his motive for getting the Wisdom Path inheritance to defend against other Wisdom Path Goo immortals? To greatly delay the information of him being the culprit from being exposed to everyone? But unfortunately, this immortal killer move needed 2 Wisdom Path Immortal Goo as the core. But the problem was, this Fang Yuan did not have the wealth to refine Immortal Goo. Eventually, after Fang Yuan browsed through the entire Wisdom Path inheritance, he realized that what he could learn and make use of currently, while also being suitable for himself, was only one particular part. It was how to deal with enemy wills. There was a lot of content on this. How to defend against enemy wills, how to differentiate wills, how to control enemy wills, what to do when under the control of enemy wills and how to control them instead, how to use wills to attack, important matters when engaging in a battle of wills, how to detect wills, how to heal wills, how to amplify the power of wills, how to weaken wills, and much more. Why did Fang Yuan want to learn this? Because in his hands he had Mo Yao's will. Mo Yao had incredible refinement path attainment in her life. She was also an Inkman with a lot of secrets of Inkman. She was even the lover of Bo Qing and was a certain generation's fairy of Spirit Affinity House. She knew many historical events that were extremely valuable. What moved Fang Yuan the most was the Red Lotus Demon Venerable inheritance clues that she had. The vital goo of Fang Yuan's first aperture, Spring-Autumn Cicada, was Red Lotus Demon Venerable's vital goo in the past. Thus, he placed much importance on the details of this inheritance. He needed to learn this how to search wills. Searching souls and searching wills were different matters with completely different difficulties. The former was easier. It was like eating. Everyone had a mouth. Even though Fang Yuan was not in Soul Path, he could still search Taibai Yunsheng's soul. Outsiders could try it. But searching wills was like a chef taste testing a dish, attempting to decipher the main ingredients. supplementary ingredients, condiments, and even the steps involved in producing the dish. This was much more difficult. In other words, this was a specialized technique. Only wisdom path experts could try it. Thus, when Taibai Yunsheng returned to Hu Immortal Blessed Land, Fang Yuan was in Donghun Palace, diligently practicing the methods to search wills. He had just started learning. He had no experience in this. He was still some way from using it feasibly. Junior brother, have you been well? Taibai Yunsheng smiled lightly. He faced a lot of pressure in Eastern Sea. He could only relax now after seeing Fang Yuan. True friendships were forged in difficulties. To him, Fang Yuan's Hu Immortal, blessed land was like his home. Fang Yuan invited him to sit down, asking with surprise when he saw the tattered clothing. You got injured. Taibai Yunsheng smiled bitterly. He said with slight lingering fear, now is different from the time I first entered Eastern Sea. Some people are placing attention on me. I could not come back using a Stargate directly. I had to go to the regional wall and put up a show. To think that someone actually followed me, resulting in me seeing for myself the terrifying might of the Earth Tide. Even though the regional wall was weakened from the Earth Tide, near the Earth Tide, the formless tides were unstoppable. Even though I was at the periphery, I suffered greatly from it. Only defensive immortal killer moves have any effect. My 9-cloud ring was like paper in front of it. Ah, let's not talk about this, junior brother. Did you have many gains? Ha 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 ha. Fang Yin started laughing. He would obviously not tell Taibai Yunsheng that he, the fake junior brother, had killed his real senior brother. But Fang Yuan only hid some parts. He told most of the truth to Taibai Yunsheng. After Taibai Yunsheng heard that, he was quite in awe towards a person like Dongfang Changfan. He talked to Fang Yuan about his own situation. The situation was such that Taibai Yunsheng was quite popular in Eastern Sea. With his development at this rate, he could almost become a second Fairy Li Shan. Taibai Yunsheng spoke about Yulu Blessed Land. Shark Demon had attacked it many times and faced endless difficulties. But he did not enter Yulu Blessed Land. He was stuck at the rounds in the outer periphery. Fang Yuan sighed. Fairy Yulu was a rank 8 Gu Immortal, a disciple of Paradise Earth, Immortal Venerable. Yulu Grotto Heaven dropped to become Yulu Blessed Land, but it still has that foundation. It might be that Yulu Blessed Land is one of the hardest kinds of blessed lands to take down. There are many aspects that influence defense. The first is if the blessed land is whole. The second is whether there is a land spirit. The third is the abundance of immortal essence. The fourth is the presence of guards like desolate beasts. The fifth is immortal goo. The sixth is immortal killer moves. The seventh is immortal goo houses. And the eighth is goo immortals protecting it. But from what I see, the offense and defense of a blessed land only depends on one thing overall. That is the quantity of Dao marks. Taibai Yunsheng heard Fang Yuan's words and was nodding. These were all common sense. But when he heard Fang Yuan's last sentence, it was like a burst of enlightenment. He was inwardly moved as he said with much interest, "Please enlighten me." Fang Yuan did not answer. He asked Taibai Yunsheng, "Oh Bai, do you know about the phrase, man is the spirit of all living beings, Gu are the essence of heaven and earth?"